Okay, I see it is 11, so we can officially kick off. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope you've had a great week thus far, and it's always great to welcome a new month as well as the weekend. So I hope you all are doing well and in good spirits. And thank you for joining me for the conclusion of this very awesome webinar theme that we had called Win More Bids. And if you have been joining us for the first time, I have some background that I would like to share regarding the actual series. So let's have a look. So if you have missed our previous webinars or you couldn't make it for some reason, you are more than welcome to register. The reason being is that once it has been uploaded into YouTube, you will then receive a link to it and you can go watch it at your own leisure, and you can also share it with your colleagues who probably couldn't attend on that day. So you are more than welcome to subscribe to our Baker Bains YouTube channel and keep up to date with all of our webinars that we do in the various segments. Now, a little bit about this series and how it came about. Win More Bids pitching for road, rail, bridges, and tunnel projects. So this one was a two-part webinar series. We done one on roads previously, on tendering, and this is the conclusion of that series, where we split it up into two, and the focus was pitching. So how can you pitch infrastructure projects in a 3D visualistic type of manner rather than using 2D conventional methods, right? Because we know as engineers, normally getting our point across in a non-technical manner to those that are not engineers, or probably just funding the project or something like that, it's quite difficult. And this is what I thought about, and I put together a series to help you do this. The core or the focus of the infrastructure elements were road, bridges, tunnels, and rail. And the technologies that we're going to be touching on the series was Autodesk Infraworks, Civil 3D, Inventor, and Revit. Infraworks being the star of the show, the reason being that it is the easiest one to use from an adoption perspective. So I didn't want to give you guys something too complicated to jump into and feel overwhelmed. And with regards to Civil 3D, Inventor, and Revit, they form part of the detailed design process. So not necessarily at the pitching aspect or phase of the project. But however, I have included them in there to show you that once you have pitched and you've won the project, how you could integrate it into your detailed design, which I'm going to show you the workflow in a bit. Of course, I am your host for this webinar series. I am Shuaib Yunus. I am the BIM Technical Specialist for Civil Infrastructure and Mining here in Baker Bains, South Africa. In conjunction with my current role, I am also a civil consultant, so I do consulting work. I've been in the engineering industry for quite some time. I'm an international speaker, webinar host, Autodesk certified instructor, associate member of South African Institute of Civil Engineers, and I've earned the nickname of the champion of BIM for civil infrastructure here in South Africa and Africa. Just some fun facts. I enjoy the beach. I like deep sea fishing. I haven't done that in a really long time. Coffee and latte art. I'm a bit of a coffee addict. Powerlifting and archery, which is put on pause due to current circumstances, but we definitely have to get back into that. And last but not least, if you would like to reach out to me directly, my email address is shuaib@bakerbains.com. I will have some more resources at the end of the webinar, so please stick to it and join me right till the end. You will see some really cool resources that we can help you with. So with regards to Baker Bains, just one quick slide intro to tell you who we are. You can see we have a great footprint throughout the technology industry, being primarily a consulting company. We are involved in survey and design, so reality capture, scan to BIM. Whether you are on the civil side of things, so TopCon will be your way to go. If you're in the architectural or built interior space, the Leica Bulkhead 360 definitely a winner in that space. We also have got ClearEdge 3D, which automates point cloud geometry extraction technologies, where you can extract CAD elements automatically from your point cloud, which is a game changer in the modeling aspect. If you are a civil professional like myself, IDAS is a definite kit that you would need in your arsenal. Reason being is it forms together with Civil 3D, and you've got a powerhouse of a design duo for civil infrastructure applications, such as road corridor design, pipe networks, from stormwater to sewer to bulk water to reticulation. There's so much you can do with those tools. We are a big part of the Autodesk world. Being a Autodesk service provider select, we are listed on the marketplace as a provider, as well as being accredited for consulting work in the implementation framework. And last but not least, we do provide training, classroom and virtual. In this case, we are leaning on virtual due to our current pandemic, which is still surreal to process. So we do offer virtual training, be it we are an Autodesk certified training center, we are authorized publisher, and if you want to learn on the go, we have CAD Learning, which is an online portal with pre-recorded Autodesk application videos to help you learn on the go and upskill at your own pace. More on that at the end of the webinar. And of course, the segments that we serve: building, civil infrastructure, structural engineering, energy, process plants, and manufacturing. So now that you have an idea of who I am, what this webinar is about, who we are as Baker Bains, let's look at what we're going to look at in today's session. So industry perspective, this will give you a good idea or a recap as to why we did this topic and why it was so pertinent in civil infrastructure and why I put this together. Industry perspective always sets the tone and context to anything. And then we're going to dive directly into the demonstration of the demo today, where we're going to look at those points, whether how you would work or take your visualistic model to detailed design, how you would create parametric models for using bridges, using out-of-the-box functions. Again, I'm keeping this as simple as possible. I don't want you to do anything customized. However, if you are a bit of an intermediate user, I'm also going to give you some pointers on how you can incorporate parametric models from Inventor for bridges. We're then going to do a really cool thing where we're going to model a tunnel through a mountain, okay? And then of course we're going to look at what you can or how can you present these pictures in a really, really cool way. And then we're going to close off and we're going to give you the key takeaways, how we can help you. It will be a very, very important segment in this webinar. And then of course Q&As. If anything pops into your mind during the webinar, shoot it away into the chat box. I will definitely tackle it at the end. So now that you have some context, let's dive right into it. So let's start off with the industry perspective. What challenges are faced by professionals when pitching for projects? Now, I have used roads, rail, bridges, and tunnels because those normally get very complicated. They are very linear in nature, meaning that they cover or traverse a vast majority of land, and it can be quite tricky to present. So these 4 points I have gathered with my dealing with industry professionals, talking to consultants out there, doing work, implementation, those type of things. We've narrowed it down to 4 key aspects. The first one being model complexity. Now, how would you get the vision and your design intent across to non-technical members? Always a struggle. When you go with your 2D design or your construction sheets, try and explain a model or an underground service using that. It is very, very difficult. Then when it comes to model aggregation, how would you arrive at one complete model, or what we term in industry a model of truth, where all of the infrastructure is consolidated and that is the latest design model? Very, very tricky. Then model realism. How would you communicate your visual perspective? How would you incorporate realism and immersiveness into your design so that those that are involved on your consortium get a feel of what their investment is giving out to them? And last but not least, it's model flexibility. What if you tick the first 3 points, but your model is fairly rigid, meaning that you cannot apply changes and propose alternatives in a single model? And that results in a non-dynamic or static environment, which is a very, very bad thing when you're doing a civil infrastructure, because you want to be on par with the latest development in your team. So those are the 4 main challenges, and it kept coming up throughout the year. And I thought, hey, this will be a good time to showcase it to the industry and help you guys pitch it better. Okay, so now that you've got the context, let's jump right into the topic of today's webinar, part 2. So just a quick recap from part 1. If you are new today, welcome. This was our project brief. I still got my engineering roots in me, so I do things as a project brief for spec, and this is what I had created. So this was a model based in South Africa in the Western Cape. You can see we've got a huge mountain in the center, and we were invited to pitch for this project, and we were invited to propose 2 options, one being a railway and one being a roadway. Okay, so they wanted to see what will be the impacts of this, and we had to create this all in one model, meaning that you don't create one model, then you say save as, then you copy it, you delete elements, and you got 2 separate models. We had to do it all in one model interface. And that was exactly what we had achieved in part 1. So if you missed it, head down to our YouTube channel. You can definitely catch a recap there. But not now, right? You're gonna watch part 2 anyway. So what do we have outstanding, or what's going to be covered today? We need to create and finalize the bridges. As you recall, those that attended part 1, we used the automatic route optioneering or corridor optimization function in Infraworks to route the route for us automatically. So I had deleted some of the bridges that I didn't want, and I'm going to show you how I incorporate them manually. Then we're going to put the tunnel through the mountain for the rail network. Now this is a very, very critical topic because a lot of people struggle with rail design, but there is a workaround that I'm gonna give you a secret tip here today, so I hope you appreciate it, and then I'm going to show you how we can showcase our design. So if that sounds good, let us proceed. So let's start off with, how would you collaborate successfully across Infraworks, Inventor, Civil 3D, and Revit? Now, this is purely focused at the stage where your design is signed off or approved by your committee or your consortium or your panel. And now you need to work on the detailed engineering aspects where you would need to do the long sections of the roads or the profiles. You would need to detail the structural bridges and tunnels in terms of rebar and stuff like that, create your schedules, put them in construction documentation, and then publish it for construction. So this comes before that. This is the bridge to that. So now Autodesk did a really, really good video that I didn't want to recreate, but I thought I will talk you through what is available on your help file or on your Autodesk Knowledge Network. Now on your right-hand side, again, this is freely available. It is online, also built into your Infraworks help file. It shows you the civil structures workflow when working with Infraworks, Inventor, and Civil 3D, as well as Revit. So if you're starting on Autodesk Civil 3D, that is your organogram that you would go, or your process diagram, and it will guide you through what you would need to do if you started on Infraworks or if you started on Revit. Okay, so it is really coolly mapped out, so you do understand exactly these steps. However, I've got a nice video to take you through it, which I'm going to talk through. So this is for bridges, right, as well as road corridors. So the workflow starts off where you would need to design your corridor in Civil 3D. And once that is done, we will then import it into Infraworks, where we will then insert the bridge at the corridor location. Now, the great part of it, first of all, you can see it is very visual. And not only that, we've got great control on using spreadsheets. Engineers, we like Excel, right? So if you want to use parameters or formulas, you can. And then we can update it simply by right-clicking. Not only that, we can incorporate analysis into it. So there is a structural analysis that can be computed using cloud technology, and it will export a PDF report of the structural analysis. We can also use optioneering to play with the bridge components, and we can also incorporate custom components, as you're seeing there. If you would like to do your finite element model creation, you can then open it up on structural bridge design on your desktop, and then you can check out your structural stresses. Once you have done any conversions or edits to the corridor, you can always bring it in, and then of course you can export the bridge to Revit. You're simply mapping the properties as you can see here. And once we import that, this is the result, where you could actually see the detailed parametric nature of the bridge in Revit. Now, what if there was any changes? So let's say you did a change in Infraworks, or maybe the corridor updated, you will get an alert in Revit to apply the update. So can you see how connected this is? Thereafter, you can import or create your rebar on the CAD model in Revit. You can also add your labelings, your spot elevations like you're seeing right now. And you can detail it for construction. And of course, Revit is really easy. You simply drag and drop your views to your certain scales and you're done. Now, what happens in Civil 3D? I'm a big fan of this, being a big user of Civil 3D. You can incorporate the bridge into your long sections. And if there's any update, it works the same as Revit, where you would get a pop-up to tell you that there has been an update. You refresh it and you are done. So this is a very, very futuristic workflow. And if you're thinking why we've incorporated Inventor into this workflow, I'll probably touch on it in the Q&A session, but it's got to do with the convergence workflow between manufacturing and construction. So that, in a nutshell, is a quick overview on how you would take your preliminary design or your visual design into your detailed design phase. You would not need to start from zero, which is 90% of the case using majority of workflows. Here, you're already ahead by taking your visual design that is existing into your detailed design. The next thing we're going to look at is the parametric bridge design. Now again, I know that this might be new to a lot of your users out there, but I am using out-of-the-box functionality in Infraworks first to show you what you can do with the tools that are built in by default. Again, out of the box. So let's have a look. Let's jump into my model. So as you can see, we've got our start of road, we've got our end of the road, and I am going to jump to the view for the start of the road. As you can see, here we are, we've got our intersection. So just give you a quick tour of what we've got along the road. So let's go to bridge 1. Okay, this is where we're going to incorporate or insert a bridge manually, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's go to bridge 2, which I've done already. As you can see, it looks beautiful, really, really great. Bridge 3, okay. Then we've got the tunnel. Okay, so we've got the location for the start of the tunnel. As you can see, it has not been inserted yet. We've got the end of the tunnel, again, hasn't been created. And then we've got bridge 4, which looks amazing. And then, of course, we snap to the end of the road. So this is exactly what we are doing. So let's go back to bridge 1. And this is where we are going to insert a bridge simply by using the bridge icon in Infraworks. So you'll see it'll highlight the road, and all we've got to do is click on the alignment that we would like to insert the road on. We can type in an exact chainage, or we could click like what I am doing right now. So if you know the exact chainage or stations, the start of end of your bridge, you're more than welcome to type it in, and it will snap to those automatically. Now, once I double click, you will see that the bridge has been inserted, right? Now, I've done this intentionally because sometimes you might not see anything. You just need to toggle a little bit till the display updates. So if your computer is not that up to scratch at certain things, or it's quite full on the disk space, this can happen. But as you can see, the bridge has been inserted. Right, this is quite amazing because Just a few clicks, it parametrically inserted the bridge for you. Now, can you edit these components? Of course you can. Now, if I select the bridge itself, you will see all of the metadata is associated to that bridge, where I can adjust the number of piers. Maybe I wanted to reduce it or increase it depending on my need as a designer. Okay, and if I do make any updates, it will update automatically. So that's what's the beauty of parametric modeling, because everything is dynamic and instant. Okay, so you will give it a few minutes, and here we go, and it will update instantly. Here we are. You can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 piers as we had. We can also move or reposition the piers. What does that mean? We can simply either click it and adjust the length. Again, you could enter an exact offset if needed, or you could drag it and drop it like what I am doing right now. So I'm going to move that maybe closer to the embankment. And I've also got one that's in the part of the stream there. So what I will do is I will just move that a little bit. I could also angle it if needed, so it doesn't have to be in the same orientation as you're seeing right now. Okay, so maybe if I wanted to drop it there, that is a bit of a large span, but anyway, it's an example, so you can get an idea of the functionality. And then, of course, if needed, I can adjust the rest of them. Okay. Now, if you wanted to rotate this, you can see those arrows on the floor will allow you to rotate them automatically. Let's snap to another one. Let's move it a bit closer to reduce the span between the columns or the piers. And then I can use those arrows to adjust the angle. So this is very, very easy, as you can see. Again, it's all out of the box functionality and quite easy to do. And as you can see, we've got those done and dusted. Let's see if I do have to make any other adjustments here. Maybe let's just move this one a little bit to the right. Again, I'm not doing it exact, but just to show you the thought process that goes behind using this technology. All right, I think that should be good enough for now. Maybe should we move this one? Okay, let's move it a little bit more distributed there. And I think we should be good now. So let's update quickly. And that is it. That is our bridge. We can go and edit that little column there or that pier. Maybe we could adjust the road profile if it is not that great. I mean, you have all of those functionality at your disposal. Maybe I will just angle it so that it will be like in conjunction or almost parallel to the stream that is running there. So that is how you would insert a bridge manually. Again, you can drag and drop depending on the location or span differences. And yeah, I think that is how you would simply insert a bridge using Infraworks. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. You can see that we can also customize these. You can customize each and every element. For example, I clicked on the bridge bearings. Now, if I select that, all of the metadata that is associated with it can be edited accordingly. And as you can see, it is an astrometric bearing, and I can go and change it, or I could create my own custom bearings and incorporate it if needed. Same applies to all of the elements attached to the parametric bridge. And this is how you would do it. Okay, so pretty easy so far. Now we're going to take it going to go up a notch, and I'm going to guide you on how you could model these custom parametric objects in Inventor. Now, I have done this in previous webinars, like step by step, so maybe check them out. But I still get a lot of queries via LinkedIn or email that people struggle with it. So I thought I will give you the theory behind it so that you can apply it in your own time. So when you are doing any element. So for this example, it is a pier, okay? In the Infraworks help docs, you will get the snapshot that tells you that these parameters are compulsory. So for example, pier height, pier cap left width, and pier cap right width are all compulsory parametric components that need to be assigned to your pier. If they are not there, Infraworks will not be able to read it. Not only that, it needs to be typed in or spelled exactly like how you see it on your screen right now. Again, this is all readily available online. You can check your Infraworks help docs for it. I thought I will show you or point you to the source of how you would model this. So those three data fields or parametric fields are compulsory, and then of course the rest of the parametric fields associated to your model are all up to you. Okay, there are a lot of videos online that will help you to model basic structures in Inventor. Alternatively, if you have a buddy that uses Inventor, you could always get him to do it. But me being in the civil infrastructure space and not an Inventor professional, I was able to model this quite easily. It does take some time wrapping your head around how the constraints works and parameters work, but if you have a good grounding in AutoCAD, this will not pose that much of a challenge. So let me show you what I am talking about. So this is in Inventor, and this is a pier that is available. All right, you can also use this from the Infraworks library. So I thought I will show you how this looks. If I click on that plane in Inventor, it will give me all of the associated parameters. Now don't get frightened or find this daunting because you see a lot of dimensions everywhere. This is because this had a lot of curves and different faces. You could be much more simpler in your approach. As you can see, the modeling approach is the same as you would use in AutoCAD, just you would bear in mind your constraints that you would need. Once you do model it correctly, the key tab here is the parameters. So under the Manage tab in Inventor, you will see all of your associated parameters. Now, these can be quite a short list or quite a long list, depending on how fancy you would like to be with your parameters. So as you can see, we've got the pier cap width, the pier height, and if I scroll down, you would see those compulsory parameters are also added in there. The next step will be to allow or to tick the key column in conjunction with the dimensions or parametric nature that you would like to export to Infraworks. Now, how would you do that? You would go to the Environments tab, you would go to Infrastructure, and you would simply click Export Template. Now, once you do that, it will export it to a IPT file. You can go and specify where you would like it to be saved, and you can give it a name. So I called it RRBT because of our webinar, Road, Rail, Bridges, and Tunnels. I can adjust the display, not really a must there. And I can then hit export, right? Let me try and expand this window. Okay, I think my mouse is playing games with me a little bit here, but you can make it bigger if needed. But again, you can see in the background how it would look depending on those different visual styles. So I'm going to hit export, and that is it. So I will close this now, hit finish on top. And then we will need to switch into Infraworks. You can see it is the pier that we want. Now I want to change bridge force piers. I want to make it look a little bit more fancy, right? Because it's a nice long stretch. Now, if I go to the style catalog or the style palette, I go to parametric models, I go to bridge, I go to piers. You can see I've modeled quite a few in my time there, but I'm going to import the one for this webinar. So all I got to do is go and select or find that IPT file. As you can see, there it is. I will hit it open, and can you see it has recognized that it complies with the compulsory fields. Now, if you didn't have that, or if you had a red X anywhere there, it will not work. There is all the associated metadata, and I can tick which options I would like to switch off and on here, depending on what my nature of design is. I'm going to leave all of them on, and here we are. It is now a part of my Infraworks library. I can use it for future projects now. So let's go and change it. So I will go and select the Pier, and let's look for the one that we had created. Let's see, you can see I've done quite a few test ones, right? But we are looking for our specific RRBT. There we are. We've got that. And once I click and select it, it will automatically update the Pier that I had in my selection. Looks pretty good to me. Now, if I want to apply it to the rest of the Piers, I could just say apply to all, and we give it a few seconds to regenerate. Okay, and here we are. You will see that it automatically updates the rest of the Piers. Okay, so there we go. All of the Piers have now been updated. So this workflow allows you to incorporate a lot of custom elements using Inventor. And because it is parametric in nature and Inventor is part of the convergence workflow, it is very beneficial when it comes to bridge design. Okay, so now that you have an idea on how you can model bridges both out of the box as well as incorporating fancy custom elements, I will show you now how you would do a tunnel. So let's start off with the road. So in this scenario, I've got two options. I'm going to insert the tunnel along the roadway that we did, so our option 1, and we're going to do it for the railway because there's a slight different approach. So as you can see, we are in option 1. I'm going to go to the location of the starting of the tunnel. I want it maybe somewhere there probably to start off with. Okay, and for this, especially if you're doing a long stretch, it's good to have the chainages at your disposal because you would have to zoom in and zoom out quite a bit. So for this one, I am going to insert using the station values or the chainage values. So here we are. You can see the start station. Now I could either zoom in and zoom out and add this in. Let me show it to you. So let's do it via zooming first. I can see I've got my start station and end station. I would just need to click now where I would like this to end. And once we do that, it will take a few minutes to generate. And here we are. My tunnel has been inserted. Okay, let's toggle it a little bit. 2 clicks, guys, 2 clicks, we got this in. Now let's get a nice cool view. You can see the height is not correct because we've got the light posts going through the tunnel, but we will fix that very quickly. Now, how do we customize this? Again, this is using out-of-the-box functionality. The approach, if you're doing customize, will be the same as I've shown you for bridges. Okay, so I thought I'm not going to repeat that. Let's do out-of-the-box functionality. Now, here is all of the metadata that is associated with the tunnel. I can go adjust certain parameters. I can move this if needed, as you can see there. But what I want to do is I want to increase the height. So let's just reselect this tunnel very quickly. Okay, let's wait for the asset card to just pop up. You can see there's a lot of other metadata that you can populate if needed, right? If you want to be very, very thorough in your model. And the height at the center is currently 5, and I think that is quite low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump it up. So let's go to 10. Okay. So once I hit 10, you can see it instantly updates. Again, the beauty of parametric modeling. Okay. Right. And I can go and change the type. Now, I don't want a rectangular type. Maybe for the rail, I would use rectangular, but for this one, I want to change it. Now, there are a lot of different styles already pre-built into the software, as you can see here. We've got different options. Let's see which one we would use. I think the D shape would look quite neat, I would think. So let's see, which one should we go with? Okay, let's go with that one. And once I do update it, look how nice that looks. Okay, I think that looks much more better. The height will just need to be updated again because that is the default height for that parametric object. So let's just bump it up to 10 again. Okay, give it a few secs and it should update in height in any moment right now. There we go. Okay, so here we are. I think I'm gonna leave that. We can also toggle or play with the rest of the dimensions here on the right hand side, but for now I am gonna leave them as they are. So that is how easy it is to actually create a tunnel in Infraworks for a road. Okay, so again, I'm just taking you through some of the metadata that associated with. You can see the lane width for left and right will be locked. It will be based on the width of your road, and I can also change the type of material. So maybe I want this to be precast. Okay, we'll just select that. It will take a little while to update, and I can also adjust the thickness if needed. So again, that is how easy it is to do a tunnel in Infraworks for a roadway. Now, for rail, you would need to apply a slight workaround. Let me explain why. When we inserted the rail in part 1, it was using a style. Now, the problem with a style is that it does not associate it to the terrain, or you do not have a profile or a long section that is auto-generated off that profile. So you would need to convert it to a road and then add a style to it. Okay, so just bear with me here. This is quite a lot of content for this webinar, but I'm hoping it will make sense. So option 2, this is the extent of the railway from start to end. So the yellow pin is the start. Again, I just dropped this in any way, right? As you can see, that's where our rail was sitting. Okay, and you can see it is a style. It is, you don't have any other metadata associated. And if I go to the profile view, you will see that there is no profile view data. Now that is a problem, okay? Because we would need that in order to insert a tunnel or a bridge or anything like that of parametric nature. So what do you do? Right. So if this was sufficing for your infrastructure pitch, you don't have to do this step, but you would need to do it once you go into the detailed design aspect. So what I will do is I will delete that initial style, or planning road is the word that we would use, and I will just drop in a road. Now you're probably thinking, Shoaib, this is a rail design. Why are you putting in a road? Just bear with me a little bit. So I'm just going to snap, not exactly, right? But let's snap. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. Toggle a little bit. We've got our pin there. So I'm just going to tick somewhere there. And I'm just going to go straight. Okay. So you can see it's quite a long railway already. So once I double click, it will insert this portion for me. So let's zoom into a nice workable area and see how it looks. You can see it has dropped in a road. Yes, we are still doing rail design, so we are gonna edit this right now. Why we did this was we wanted the associated intelligence for roads for the railway. So the first step is we dropped in a road. Bit weird, but anyway. So let's zoom in and let's continue. Now the next step will be to check if there is an assembly that we can edit. Now, what I normally do is I change the cross section to a 2-lane. Right? Again, this is built into Infraworks. I'm not doing anything custom here, and I'm going to align it to the extent of the road, so the start and the end. And I will just click Finish Replace. And here we are. Now, if we were doing a bi-directional railway, so 2 rail tracks in each direction or 1 in each direction, of course, this will be wide, okay? So I'm just going to switch off the line marking. And what I have right now is the material. So I'm going to change this to ballast, not asphalt, okay? So let's do it for the left-hand side again. So you can see the visual aspect of it. If you want to see it much more bigger, I thought I will show where you get it. There is a material library for railway. You can adjust the icon display so you can see what you're getting into. I'm going to select ballast and hit click, and let's see what happens. So we give it a few seconds and it has updated. It's just still highlighted. But if I zoom in, you can see the finish. All right, so let me click somewhere away from my model. Let's click maybe there. Here we are. Okay, so you can see we have the ballast that has been laid along this alignment. So that's great. Step 2 is done. The next one. So now that we have the ballast, we need to incorporate the model for the sleeper and the sections. Now, AutoCAD people, if you love AutoCAD or if you like modeling in CAD, you're going to like this part. But just to show you the profile view, can you see we have a long section already? Again, we can definitely adjust this. I am not going to do it right now, but just to show you that you can. Now, I modeled this in AutoCAD. Okay, as you can see here, it's in Civil 3D at the moment, so AutoCAD. If I select it, you can see those are 2 sections, and I've done like an extrude of a section there. And you would need to export that to a 3D model. Now, I exported that to FBX from 3ds Max, or you could try DXF or whatever other formats that Infraworks supports, and we can import that in. Okay, unfortunately, Civil 3 doesn't export to FBX anymore, but you can do it with other applications in the AEC collection. Now, what I will do is I will place what we call a decoration. Now, I have imported that rail style. As you can see there, it's a 3D model from AutoCAD, and I'm going to assign it to that alignment. Now, here we are. Okay, so let's just hit escape a few times so we deselect everything. And look at that, look how cool it looks already, but the orientation is incorrect. So we need to just check how the rotation is going to work. Okay, let's see how 90 will look. Okay, 90 looks perfect actually, but I would maybe want to have it going in the other direction, maybe 270. But just to show you, if you go 180, it will flip the other way. And then of course, I think 270, oops. Right, so you see if you make a mistake, it'll flag it automatically, which is quite cool. So let's go delete some digits there, make it 270. All right, great. Now I just want to align it to the center of my track. So you would need to know the width. All right, so if I offset it, first of all, I'll adjust the spacing. You can see it has done that pretty good. I would use a 2mm offset. And then of course, the horizontal offset, I want it to be anchored towards the center of the profile. You can have it to the side like what you're seeing right now, but I just like it being along the center. Okay, so I can offset it, maybe 2 meters. Let's see. That looks a tad bit much, maybe 1.5. So maybe minus 1.5, and perfect. I'm happy with that. And we now have our rail that has been modeled in Infraworks. Okay, so it is a slight workaround, but it's doable. It's not anything like rocket science or quite difficult. If you're good at AutoCAD, you model it, you assign it, you export it to a 3D model that's compatible with Infraworks, and then you assign it to that alignment. So it looks pretty good to me. I'm happy with it. Okay, and the last step now will be to create the tunnel. So now that we have that, we simply go and click on the tunnel icon. Here I'm going to just type in the changes or the stations because I know more or less where I want it to start. So it's going to start at 200 meters, and maybe the end station, I think it was just close to, let's use 700, it's fine. I think that should be ample. And once we do that, you can see it has automatically inserted that tunnel. It's quite a long tunnel. As you can see for this webinar, I did not take the easy route. I used a really big model, and you can see how linear this is. All right, so let's go to the start location of where we wanted the tunnel to be. Let's just scroll down a little bit, and here we are. There it is there. Of course, you can then go and adjust the tunnel exactly like what we did for the road. I'm not going to do that, but I just wanted to show you how this looks. And now you have a tunnel going through a mountain. Pretty slick. Okay, so now we're coming or approaching towards the end of my content. I know this is quite heavy technical, but I really want to help you guys in this space. So how can you create amazing infrastructure pictures? Now, fun fact is, I actually exported a video this morning. If you checked on LinkedIn, I hope it's done by now. So we will try and play it first time. I'm going to see it first time on air with you guys, right? So I hope it didn't come out messed up, but we will have a look. Now, the easiest way to present your design is model snapshots. Now, this can be done directly in Infraworks. I have covered this numerous times on our Baker Men's YouTube channel. Please go have a watch at it. I didn't want to make this repetitive because there's a lot of other useful content that I wanted to get through in this webinar. So look how amazing that looks. Now, if you're going to incorporate this into your design reports, your prelim, your feasibility, your concept, tell me you are not able to get your engineering design across with this. You've got the bridge, you've got the tunnel, you've got the railway, and you've got the finish of how the road will probably look based on your sidewalk and curb materials. Really, really visual. How would you do this if you were not using a 3D platform? Good luck to you on that. Now, if you want to take it a step higher, you could create a simple fly-through of your road. I did not have time to assign sound to it. So what you're seeing right here now is done purely in Infraworks. That's it. You don't need any editing software. This is exactly in it. However, if you took this into an editing software, you could have added like maybe background audio or stuff like that. You guys are way more creative than I am. But let me play this for you. Okay, so I really put it, I don't know, can't remember what speed I put this on, what it was, 300 kilometers or whatever, I don't know. But check how cool this is. Now imagine you could fly through your road like this. You've got the beautiful mountain backdrops that are synonymous with the Western Cape. You can see we're driving through the road. We're approaching the curve. But like playing Gran Turismo at the moment. And here we are, we go into the tunnel. Perfect. If you don't get your heights right, you might hit your head on the tunnel if you're driving. So you need to play with your camera a little bit. Again, I did a webinar on this. It's called Presenting Your Designs Brilliantly Using Autodesk Infraworks. It's on our YouTube channel, where I go through this step by step. And you can see you come to the end of our road, which looks amazing. So this is very easy to do in Infraworks, okay? Now I'm going to switch my screen to the video that I exported this morning. I hope it plays well with the streaming because I know sometimes the videos do give us a problem, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. So I've got it here on, there we are. Okay, so you should still be able to see my screen. Let me just check my preview. Okay, perfect. You should be able to. All right, so I created this where I added captions at key points. All right, so I did it just this morning. You can go and check my LinkedIn story if you think I am bluffing, but I'm going to hit play. Right, so let's hope this plays as smoothly on my side as it is on your side. So here we are. I've put the road extents, and you can see it's a very, very smooth transition now coming down. If it looks staggered on your side or a bit like clunky, it's purely because of the streaming, okay? So just ignore that. And then I have added different types of lenses here, as you can see. Again, that webinar that I did, pitching your designs brilliantly or presenting your design brilliantly with Autodesk Infraworks, go and check that out on our YouTube channel. It has a lot of views and a lot of people benefited from it. So you can see you can add key text and subtitles, those type of things at different areas. So I've just done one with the key points. Right? So I went below ground, I came out the other side of the mountain there, pretty slick. You can see we've got a nice overview of the terrain, and we now come to our first bridge. So this was bridge 1. Okay, so now imagine using this on your design models. How cool would this be? All right, and I haven't even like got really creative with this. I've just done a basic one this morning. I was quite afraid that maybe it might not be in time for the webinar, but I got lucky, thank God. And yeah, let's see what it is. So this is bridge 2. You can see I even have control on where to put the text. I can also control the transitioning and stuff like that, but I did a very basic one because it was fairly last minute. All right. So that was bridge 2. I think we now are flying through to bridge 3. We are going like a Superman type of fly through over the mountains. Look how clear the fill material looks, right? I exaggerated a lot of the fill here and cut, so it will be visual. Bridge 3, you can see it's going over this nice animated stream here in Infraworks. You can see I've also put in the guardrails for the bridge, and of course the light post that we would probably use here in South Africa. Okay, then I can toggle a little bit. Okay, I'm not sure what happened to my graphic display there, but here we are, start of tunnel, right? And I think now we will fly through this mountain. Let's see if I remember correctly. So generally you shouldn't see this gap here, right? But because I didn't position the cameras and stuff like that, you might get some graphics that look like this because you're going through a lot of stuff. So please do it properly. And here we are, we come to the end of the tunnel. Okay, you can even see the shadowing effects because the bridge here is darker to the ones on the other side of the mountain. So it's very, very realistic, right? Okay, we're gonna just maybe zoom out a little bit. And this was the one where we incorporated the parametric or custom piers. Looks very, very awesome, I would say. This was bridge 4. And then I think now we can go to the end point or the end pin of this road. So we're gonna zoom out. It looks so awesome with the mountain backdrop. So I chose a really good location. Most of my webinars, I choose random locations in South Africa. So if you have any cool locations, you can give me some heads up via email. I would appreciate it, right? And that brings us to the road end. So let me switch back to my presentation very quickly. So yeah, I showed you can use the snapshot option, you could use the road fly through, and you could use the one that we just did. Now, if you want to take it a step further, there are 2 other options. The easiest one is by using the Autodesk Render Cloud, where you can push it out to the cloud. You can decide the render type and the render quality, and it will do it for you in the cloud automatically. And you will get an email notification to tell you when it's done. Now, depending on the quality, it might ask you for cloud credits. However, when you're doing like drafts and testing it, it requires 0 cloud credits. So it's really, really a easy way to get into the render game if you are very new to it. Now, if you are on the intermediate / advanced scale of this webinar, you could export this Infraworks model to 3ds Max via FBX. The way I prefer is to take the Infraworks model to Civil 3D and then export it from Civil 3D to 3ds Max using the Civil view in 3ds Max because it gives you more control. The only downside with this is you might have to do some touch-ups in Civil 3D, whereas in Infraworks, if you export it directly to FBX and bring it into 3ds Max, you don't have to do anything. And then of course here you can create really high quality 4K high resolution videos and snapshots, as well as animations, okay? The 3ds Max wasn't a part of this webinar because I didn't want to overcomplicate it. However, please feel free to have an experiment on it. So that brings me to the closing of this webinar. Quite a lot of content covered right here today. But let's look at today's key takeaways. I showed you how you can collaborate successfully between Infraworks, Inventor, Civil 3D, and Revit. If you want to transition your design to the detailed aspect using Civil 3D and Revit, and then showed you how you could create the parametric bridge using default out-of-the-box Infraworks objects, as well as using customized objects modeled in Inventor into Infraworks. I showed you the secret workaround, or no more secrets, on how you could use for Railworks, how you could get your rail to go into tunnel, into Infraworks, and then of course, what is possible, how you could create different visualizations on your different skill levels. So congratulations everyone. Thank you for joining me for this amazing Win More Bids webinar series. We have had quite a journey, and I'm really proud that we were able to get to so many of you online, and we will have to see what will be the next series suggestion. So if you have any, you can always pop them into the chat box. I could consider it. So how can we help you? Right, so with Info for Baker Benz, we solve our customers' problems through digital transformation, helping them to design and make a better world. Now, specific to what you saw in this webinar, how can I help you? I've put it into 3 categories. The first one is you can help yourself or do it yourself. We have CAD Learning. It is an online learning portal that has many pre-recorded lessons in a variety of Autodesk software. Civil 3D is there, Infraworks is there, Revit is there, Inventor is there, vehicle tracking, Revit structures is there, Revit architecture is there, MEP, AutoCAD. I mean, everything, like the products that you would use are there, right? And you can learn a variety of Autodesk software and become versatile as a professional, because it's not just one software that's on there. So if you're familiar now with Infraworks, but you need to brush up on Civil 3D, you could go check out Civil 3D, or you could go check out Revit, or maybe you were curious on using architectural tools for a civil professional, you could go check out Format. So your flexibility there is amazing. So definitely CAD Learning, you can check it out on our website, or you can drop me an email, I can send you information on it. It's what most industry professionals are subscribing to at the moment, because it is just so flexible and so awesome, because you can learn at your own pace, at your own time. The second one is we could show you, like you can see in the webinars, I always give you what's possible, but you would need to attend training in order to get the fine details. I mean, that's a given, right? So you could attend a full training course. I do the training courses in the civil infrastructure space, so you'll be dealing with me directly, and it will be nice to meet those on the other side of the screen virtually, hopefully in person soon when things clear up. But there are a ton of courses that we offer. When it comes to civil infrastructure, you could do Civil 3D, you could do Infraworks, you could do Revit, you could do AutoCAD, you could do vehicle tracking, reality. There's so many courses that I do, as well as the rest of our professionals in different fields here, because we've got an architect, professional architect, we've got a structural engineer, we've got a person in the process plant specialist type of thing. So we've got different specialists in different fields, and we can actually train you. But specifically to this webinar, I can show you a lot of what we have covered here today. If you just need the basics to get started, so maybe you don't want the full shabam of Civil 3D, of Infraworks, we have Kickstarters that are available. These are like one-day courses, or in certain cases half-day, depending on what content is covered. And this will help you to do just that. So you just want to get a feel of what you can do. This is your best bet, right? So you can also inquire with us on our Kickstarters. And the third option will be if you are familiar with application but need specific help. So maybe you're using Infraworks, you're using Civil 3D, using Inventor, but there's certain elements that you're struggling with. You could send us that via email, and we can create a customized training course tailored to your needs. So that is also very, very flexible. So this is the segment on let us show you. If you want a tag team, which I always like because it's fun, right? Also, well, all of these options are quite fun. I'm more favorable to the center and the right option, but let's do it together. So this is where I will show you or take you through how you can apply the technology on a project that you have. We call it project-based learning, where you might have a project that's coming up or you've done previously, and you want to get your team on board to say, listen guys, we did this project. Let's see how it will compare if we had to use these type of workflows. And 100% of the time, the consultants that I've worked with, the teams, the professionals, their mind have always been blown, because it is such a clear distinction between the advantages that you have. Okay, so that's one way we could do it. If you would like to fine-tune your processes as a team, we also do that. We offer a lot of business process assessments. We consult with your teams, your workflows, and we help you to standardize a set working pattern across your departments. So we can definitely help you there. And of course, if your tasks are very complex or it's way above your depth, it's quite overwhelming, you can always hit me up, reach out to me. We can set up a time to have a quick chat and find a way forward. So we bring all of this together with our IADOT methodology. Again, this is quite a broad spectrum of services, but it incorporates business assessments, training, BIM implementation, data management, and consulting. So if you want to reach us or follow us as Baker Bains, I mean, those are all of our handles: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I mean, this webinar will be uploaded to YouTube soon. So if you know a buddy, I will post the link on LinkedIn for the recording. If you're following me, you're more than welcome to reshare, tag your buddies in the comments so they can also watch this, and so on. And I think we can go to the Q&A. If you wanted to reach out to me, or if you wanted to find out what I am involved in the civil infrastructure space, anything civil infrastructure design and scan to BIM reality capture, I am your guy. You can actually reach out to me directly, shuaib@bakerbains.com, or you can hit me up on LinkedIn. If you don't have me, feel free to add me or search me. You can see I use quite a lot of technology, right, in my space. Some of them I'm not a professional in, but I can incorporate them in with my awesome team behind me that do specialize in them. And of course, you might not need to incorporate those technologies at a full scale, but just in a civil perspective. So I can help you with consulting, software training, scan to BIM, process analysis, demos and presentations. I actually did a presentation last week for Pakistan's first ever large-scale BIM event, which was quite nice. If you're having any events where you want me to chat to your teams, you can always reach out. Webinars, and of course, having a chat. So I'm going to open it up now to the Q&A session. If you have any comments, please drop them into the chat box. If you have any questions, if you found this useful, by all means, the chat box is yours. You're more than welcome to actually do this. So let me scroll in here while I give you a few seconds to jot down your Q&A. Okay, so I have a question here from Jan. Is it all version 2022 versions of Autodesk that you use? Okay. Yes. So in this case, I used all the versions for Infraworks, Revit, Civil 3D 2022. It keeps things much more simpler, and I like to be on the latest versions, especially now that the service packs and stuff have been released. It's a good rule of thumb, irrespective of brand, to use the same versions, because it's not to say that you would have complications, but it reduces the risk of it. Sometimes it might be a data translation or some type of complication that arises if you're using like 2020 and then you've got another version on 2022 and another on 2021. It's just good practice as a designer to try and standardize them. Okay. Did you use a sandbox from Infraworks? No, I didn't. Whatever you've seen right here, all of that is purely Infraworks. I didn't incorporate any other video editing software or anything like that. What you're seeing is out of the box because I really wanted to keep this very simple. Okay, but thank you for that question. Okay, this is a very pertinent question. Thank you for asking this. How long does it take to export the videos? Right. So I exported the videos from Infraworks. There are factors that you would need to consider. First of all, it is the scale of your model, how long it is, how many key points, how many captions, how many transitions you've added. That comes to the video editing part. The second part is the resolution that you're using, because you can adjust the video resolution according to your requirement. So I used my screen resolution. I think it was 1080 by something, which was okay. But you can really bump it up or bump it down depending on what you want. Now, the only downside, and I wish that hopefully this changes soon, is that Because of the high visual render capacity and nature of Infraworks, the videos come out quite large, and you can output them to AVI. I wish that they changed this soon to MP4, because AVI, as you know, it is a very large video format. And just to give you an example, because I exported this uncompressed, so there's different ways that you can export it. I use the uncompressed method because you get quite a decent high visual video at the end. My video size for what you saw there was, I think, about just over 20 gigs. Yeah, so that's a bit of a downside, but I mean, if you have enough or ample space, or you have a hard drive like what I've got, it's not a problem, because if you're pitching such great projects, you really want it to be of a high visual nature. So it does take a bit of time to export that 20 gigs, as you can imagine. Sometimes, depending on your presentations, it can take an hour, sometimes 2, sometimes 15 minutes if you've got a quickie thing that you just want to show. So again, it largely depends on what type of scale as well as resolution you used on your model. I wanted it to look quite nice here, so I just stepped it up a bit, so that's why it took long. And I'm really glad that the video got done just before this webinar, so I could actually show it to you guys live first time on air. I think it was okay. It wasn't too grand compared to the other videos that I normally do, but it got the message across. So thank you very much for that. Okay, can you edit the geometry in Revit once you bring it in from Infraworks? I assume you're talking about the bridge. The answer is no. Now, the reason why they've done that is to maintain the connection between Infraworks, Revit, and Civil 3D. So if you had a bridge designed in Infraworks, you might use the parametric components, which are from Revit, so IPT, whether it's out of the box or a custom, both have the same formatting. You would need to make the edits in Infraworks. So once you make the edits to the bridge, maybe you change the piers, maybe you change the girders, maybe you change the caps or the foundations, those type of things. Once that has been updated, that geometry gets pushed to Revit like you saw in that video, and it updates. The only thing that you would need to do is to insert the rebar or reinforcement that is available for the bridge. In terms of the actual geometry of the bridge, you cannot edit it in Revit. Same with Civil 3D, because it references the models into those applications. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me just take one more scroll to see if in case I missed any questions. Okay, I think that is it. I've got to everyone's questions. Again, I'll just put my details up here. You can see there is my email right there, so you're more than welcome to hit me up. Thank you so much for joining me for the series, joining me for all of my webinars. It's really cool to see the trend in our South African industry that people are invested in upskilling themselves, which is amazing. If you have any ideas, any good comments, any bad comments, any suggestions, recommendations, please send them to me. It helps me quite a bit. It helps me help you to see what you are grappling with industry, and I could align my webinars to help you design and make a better world on your end. So thank you very much. Have an awesome Friday. Have an awesome weekend, and keep your eyes peeled for the recording and mentioning of the next series to come for civil infrastructure. Thank you. Take care and goodbye.